morning everyone, welcome to day 26 of the Vegan Weight Watchers Challenge. So I am starving Marvin. Been up for a really long time. Go ahead, you're not in my picture. It's okay, you can make some noise, it's all right. So I made some muffins this morning for the boys and for my mother-in-law, and Samantha, I think she'll probably eat those too. Anyways, I am super hungry. I'm going to have a Diet Pepsi, of all unhealthy things. That sounds wonderful. And some carrots and some tomatoes and some guacamole. And I know that sounds really random for breakfast, but it sounds good to me. And it's relatively low in carbs because I can measure out the guacamole and only have like 2 to 4 carbs. Why do I keep wanting to call it carbs? Not carbs. You know what I'm saying. Points. Points. So anyways, I'm going to make lasagna for supper tonight, and I'm going to make a Mexican one and a regular one. So I'll show you how I'm going to make the Mexican one, because the regular one is not going to be Weight Watchers friendly at all, but the Mexican one should be okay. So if there's anything else exciting going on today, I will talk to you about it later, but I will catch you guys after lunchtime for making a lasagna. So we'll see you soon. Bye guys. Alrighty guys, so my house is quiet. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. My daughter and her friend and my stepdad went to a movie this afternoon, and my 3 boys and my husband and my mother-in-law went to, just left for Target. Santa's helper wasn't very good this year in terms of making sure that we didn't actually get duplicates of things. So Santa brought movies for the boys, always does that, and 2 out of the 3 were something that we already owned. So yeah, that was interesting. And then we always get every year one of the kids each one bigger present. Like for example, Samantha, we got her a NutriBullet that she could use at college, and the boys each got a huge set of Legos because that's their thing. They love Legos, all 3 of them still. And yeah, my mother had told my husband which Lego sets she had bought, and I guess we just didn't pay enough attention to that because yeah, we bought one that she had already bought for one of the boys. So anyways, they're gonna run over to Target and do some exchanging of stuff so that the kids actually have presents that they can actually use and stuff. So it's quiet in my house, it's wonderful. So yeah, I'm actually making 3 different lasagnas, one of which is Heather friendly, one of which is for the boys, and then another one. The regular lasagna that I'm making, I'll have to make it for you guys sometime if I haven't. I don't think I have. It's absolutely amazing. Like, it is so stinking good. Holy cow. But it's totally not even remotely okay on this challenge in terms of points. Like, the one that I'm doing today, I'm using almost all the ingredients except for like 2 have no points whatsoever, and it's still going to have like 11 points in it for my lasagna. So, you know, a regular lasagna would have a lot. But anyways, let's get, oh, let me show you. I have a new necklace. You see that? That little elephant? I love elephants. Like, I love elephants. They're amazing. Anyway, one of the ladies that I work with, and she's actually a nurse. She's not in the pharmacy, but she went to Kenya and she brought that back for me. Isn't that nice? So anyways, let's make lasagna. So I'm going to make a Mexican lasagna for myself. And this can be something you put together really fast and then just put in the oven and let it cook while you're doing whatever else it is you need to do, and then you will have supper. So we buy these, it says they're vegetarian, they're vegan, but whatever, these Santa Fe beans. So the only thing that's in this bag is pinto beans and salt. And they are, I mean, there's a decent amount of sodium in here, so there certainly you don't need to add salt anywhere else in your meal for sure. They're not horrible by any means, but there's enough in here that you don't want to use, you wouldn't want a whole bunch of other salty stuff in your food. So always have some beans for Mexican lasagna. Mine is going to have some Trader Joe's roasted corn in there, and then also, so Kroger has tofu in big blocks, and it has tofu in 2 little blocks. So we tend to buy the ones in the little blocks because then you don't have to have a whole bunch of extra tofu that you're not actually don't know what to do with. So I'm going to take some tofu and crumble it, and then mix some spices into it and put it in there as part of the layer. So let's make some lasagna, okay? So the first thing that you do with any lasagna is any lasagna I've ever made, maybe there's ones that you don't, I'm not sure, put a little bit of sauce. So I actually am using store-bought salsa, which is weird because my husband always makes salsa, so I don't usually need to buy salsa. But so we're gonna put a little bit of some chunky salsa in the bottom, and it's just enough to layer across the bottom of your dish. So like that, okay, just a little bit. Why don't you guys come down on the counter and see what I'm doing? Wouldn't that be cool? Come on down. Okay, so there is the lasagna dish that I'm using for myself. So that's in there. The tofu, this is the, like I said, the little blocks of tofu. I'm actually probably only going to use half of it. And what I'm going to do with it is just break it into little pieces. So not like squishing it or anything. I'm not putting it through any kind of food processor. I'm just making it into, actually it looks kind of ricotta cheese-ish. But I'm just doing this basically as a vehicle to hold some of the seasoning. Because it's Mexican lasagna, obviously there's salsa, but I also thought that I would put in there a little bit of chili powder and a little bit of cumin and a little bit of parsley. Obviously, if you liked super love cilantro, this would be a terrific place to put it. Not really my thing. So there is essentially a quarter of a block of tofu. I have a towel out, so I could totally wipe my hands off, but I'm just gonna go wash my hands, so I'll be right back. All right, so what are we putting in our tofu mix? I'm going to put in a little bit of garlic. Oh, if I can get the container open. Holy buckets, my goodness. Okay, a little bit of garlic. Not a ton, just however much you like, really. I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of our chili powder that we get from Sprouts in the bulk seasoning. And you really could skip this stage completely if you wanted to, because you've got salsa on your stuff and your food. It's going to have a Mexican flavor to it anyway. I just think this adds another dimension. If this is too much work, this part right here, just skip it. No problems. It's really not an issue. And a tiny bit of cumin, because you guys know I'm not a huge fan of cumin. So basically, you've got just some nicely flavored tofu, essentially, is what we've got going on here. Looks kind of like scrambled eggs. But yeah, that's going to divide that into two and make it in a layer in there. So there's that. Okay. So for the beans, normally you would cook these on the stove and you would want them to thicken and stuff, but I don't want them to thicken because I want them to be in the lasagna and be a layer in the lasagna. If you did not cook your lasagna noodles ahead of time, you could actually make this really super runny and use this to cook your lasagna noodles. I have definitely made lasagna and not cooked the noodles and just made this super sloppy and put it in there. Absolutely fine, worked out just fine. But they're not super sloppy. I just basically filled up the, this is two bags, by the way, not just one bag, because I'm making boys lasagna that's Mexican lasagna. So I just filled this up and put water up to the top of the beans and then just waited for it to start rehydrating itself. So nothing big, no big deal going on there. So you can have, I'm not sure about all lasagna noodles, but I buy Tinkyata brand of the pasta. And so they have lasagna noodles that are gluten-free. So basically I'm going to use, I'm not actually sure if I'm going to use just 3 halves or 4 full halves. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. We'll see what we got when we get it in here. So there we've got salsa, we've got a noodle. We're going to put a spoonful of beans. Don't need a ton, obviously. Should have got like a measuring cup out so I could just done like a 1/4 of a cup measuring cup and that would have been convenient. But so there's that. I'm going to put in a sprinkling of corn. My corn is still frozen, but I am so not worried about that because it's going to cook in the oven. So not an issue at all. And then half of the tofu that's here. So there is one layer. Now, if you want to at this point, you could totally put in more salsa and then just do your layers again and end with salsa on the top. I actually don't want to do that. It's not that I dislike salsa. I just don't think that for me, that's not the flavor that I necessarily want. So I'm not going to put in the next layer of salsa. You do that if that's what you would like. That's totally fine. So I'm going to put in, I think I'm going to end up with a noodle and a half instead of 2 noodles. So there's that. We'll do our beans again. I'm making a mess. Not really what I wanted to do because it's going to make a mess when I am cooking this if I don't clean this up. It's not fun to clean up burnt on, stuck on stuff, but that's okay. Okay. So, what came next? Our corn was next. Do some more corn. And we will finish the rest of the tofu. I'm not going to do this with the other lasagna that I make, but I do put tofu in with the cashew cream cheese that I make to just basically bulk it up a little bit, and it works out really well flavor-wise. So there's that. Anything else we need to add before the last noodle? No, I don't think so. So let's get 1/2 of a noodle on top of this. I've got some little chunky pieces of noodles left in the bottom of the dish, so I'm just going to put in a couple of little pieces that are left. It doesn't have to be pretty. No one is going to know what it looks like when it's buried underneath stuff. For real. It will be wonderful. And then on top of this is going to go, ooh, it's starting to storm outside. Going to go some salsa. So just want enough basically so that your noodle doesn't dry out. I did not probably put enough on there. Anyway, I'm gonna put a little bit more on there. Just a little bit more. I should have gotten a less chunky salsa. I should have gotten more of a liquid salsa rather than a chunky salsa, but that's okay. I don't really know how to buy salsa simply because it's not something that I normally eat, and my husband always makes it. So, and no, I am so sorry. I still do not have his recipe for salsa. I have asked him if we can go ahead and make a video on it sometime. So there will be a video at some point in time. Sometime. Okay, so you could totally be done here if you wanted to. I am going to put about 1/4 cup of Daiya cheese on the top of mine. This is totally unnecessary and really not super healthy, to be honest with you, but I've got the points in the day that I could still have it, so I am going to. That's probably about 1/4 cup. Maybe that's a little bit more than 1/4 cup. Anyways, it's not that much. But, okay, so, lasagna. All you need to do now is to put aluminum foil on this and cook it at 350, 375 for as long as you would like, to be honest with you, because it really doesn't have to do anything. I mean, the corn needs to get hot. It's like frozen in the center, so you don't want to eat frozen corn in your lasagna. But other than that, so I usually do lasagna in the oven for about 30 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Either is fine. So I'm going to put that with some aluminum foil over it, and then I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be delicious. I used 1.5 noodles, so 2 noodles would have been 5 points, so we'll just say 3 points. Maybe I should say 4.5. Let's just say 3. We'll say 3. And that's probably more than 3 points worth of cheese, so that would be 6. So let's just call this 8, just to be on the safe side. So 8 points in here because tofu is free. The salsa maybe has a few points in it because it's store-bought rather than, it's not all vegetables. I mean, there's a little bit of sugar in there and salt in there. So maybe we'll just say it's 10 points total. I don't know. I have plenty of points left in the day. I had minestrone soup today for lunch. Very small bowl because I wasn't super hungry. I ate a ton of carrots for breakfast. It was delicious. Anyways, so I probably didn't have, I mean, I've got way lots of room left for points for today, so that's fine. But this is going to be a huge amount of lasagna, and I am really looking forward to this. These beans, these Santa Fe beans are really good. You could totally take a thing of pinto beans and just blend them and make your own refried beans, no problem, super easy as well. This does not have to be this processed because, I mean, obviously the beans have salt in them, so they're considered processed, and the salsa is not homemade, so it would be considered processed as well. And of course, Daiya cheese just doesn't count for anything healthy at all. So anyways, I am looking forward to this though. I think it's going to be quite delicious. So I'm gonna get going, and I'm going to put together a couple of other lasagnas for the kids and my family, and I will be back with you guys a little bit later after I get it cooked so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to try and cook it and let it sit for a little while so I can actually get it out of this container without it going, because you know how lasagna is, if you don't let it sit for a little while, it just goes everywhere. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alrighty guys, so lasagna is almost done. My lasagna is done and out of the oven, and it's pretty. Look how pretty that turned out. I mean, obviously it fell over sideways, but so I'm going to try it for you real quick. I think that it's going to be wonderful. It smells really good. And like I said, there's probably about maybe 7 or 8 points total. This is half of it. This little plate right here. It's hot. I love lasagna. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that is super good. So you need to make the recipe for sure. It was not that hard, I promise. Okay guys, so I'm gonna go feed my family, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. I hope you're having a good one.